Hey there, beasties. Are single big bad boss monsters all they're cracked up to be? Let's get into it, shall we? Now, I know in our quintessential stories and video games and other role-playing games that big climactic boss battle is usually one big monstrosity that you are forced to deal with. But in the world of Pathfinder, that doesn't always work out well. Often the go-to is people are like, oh, I'm going to use this monster that is the character level +4, and that is the maximum challenge. And those monsters can sometimes completely wreck your party, which I get it. You want this to be a big climactic fight. And the issue at hand is if you have a bunch of dedicated healers, they're always undoing what that boss monster does. In fact, in one spell, your cleric can undo a massive amount of damage quite easily. And this tendency to have this big bruiser monster generally means its reflex is low, so tripping it is always a good go-to, and then it has to get up and you're surrounded by your allies that all have reactive strikes, and then they can wail away on it, and it's fun. Not always for the GM, though. And there are other ways, though, that you can combat this from the GMing side. And I have found that going with that challenge rating of 3, but heavily curtailing the environment to the boss is so much fun. And you can even give a few little allies some really weak ones to add a few things. There is a rule introduced when they introduced wheelchairs that there is a functionality that if a character's in a wheelchair and they get tripped, another character can stand them back up with an action. Now, why is this only limited to people in wheelchairs? I would say it's not. I've always allowed people as an action to get someone up. And if you're the one getting them up, that provokes because that is a manipulate action. But the person you're standing up, they don't provoke. So that is a really good use of allies for a boss, is things to get them up. Or there are other things, don't be afraid to give abilities the monster doesn't have to make the fight more fun and more engaging. If you as the GM are not having fun, I've mentioned this many times over many videos in many different formats, that is a large problem, and you need to have fun too. And there's no reason that you can't think of a few options for these monsters that make it so the players can't completely dominate them. And a few simple things would be like, oh, they have an attack that they can make while they're prone, and if it hits, they can stand as a reaction and that doesn't provoke. Or maybe they just stand and it doesn't provoke. It's part of the attacking action. Maybe it's a 2-action attack. You can adjudicate that however you want and what seems fair. You typically, if you're doing a big boss monster, you also want to make sure it has attacks that can target 4 people. That it either is one attack against different people or a big area attack that hits everyone. Because if you're not actually doing that, it's easy, again, for those healers to step in and completely mitigate everything that you've done. But getting back to this, the terrain, there's a lot of really fun things you can do with terrain. There are areas that the creature can go, the enemy can go, easy for it, not so easy for the players, that they have to maneuver, they have to make checks, they run the risk of hitting traps. Maybe it's a huge creature and there's 10-foot holes in the floor or this chasm. The creature can simply step over it because it's huge. It doesn't need to make a check. It's just part of its move, to where now those players, they have to make additional checks to jump over. There is the classic video game rebirth. That's a valid thing to do in Pathfinder. Here's the monster, you bring it down to 0 hit points, and now there is a catalyst, there is a change, and you now fight this evolved form. Now, you want to be fair about that. You want to make sure that the players have some time to do some kind of healing and other stuff. Clearly, they don't need a full rest a day type of thing, but you want to make sure that they do have some options. And really, make that as impactful as you can. I've noticed boss fights where you have a couple of level 2 creatures and then level 1 above the party. Those work great. Those are a lot of fun. Having more enemies gives the characters more stuff to swing at, lets the GM, you get to have more attacks that you're doing, because just like when the players fall into these ice cold dice modes where they just roll 4 or less and they can't hit, that's very infuriating as a GM when you're using that with a monster, and that's happening too. And it's happened to me many times. So getting more monsters out there gets you more dice that you can roll and gives you a better chance to do things like that. So there's a lot of options out there, and I don't want people to get frustrated. And a lot of players really enjoy that one big bad boss monster, big bad boss if it's just a more humanoid character. But even if you're doing you're doing an adventure path, things like that, it's okay to modify these things based on the players. If you think they're going to have too easy a time and you want it to be challenging. I mean, I've been there where the last fight was a pushover. Oh, that wasn't very fun. And knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the party is, you're the GM, you have that advantage, and there's a lot of things you can do to combat that. There really is. So looking at methods to mitigate some of those actions, like I said, there's when you get a monster that is a level 5 or lower than the party, they technically don't even add to the experience pool. I love those monsters because there are so many fun things you can do with them. They can eat up space where characters can't simply move where they want to be. They can add flanking. Like we mentioned, they can help get people up if they've been knocked prone. Perhaps the boss has some kind of regenerative ability where it consumes a thrall, one of these weak characters, and regains hit points. Because that's another thing I think that it's a whole category of the synergy of monsters there isn't a lot of in Pathfinder. There's a lot of cool abilities, yes, and there is things you can play off of each other, but I really think they could have done more to tell you about, you pair these two monsters together, and they work really well. They're designed to work well together. I think we need more of that. And as the game has progressed and there has been, levels of power creep, there absolutely has. I've noticed that what used to be a extreme challenge rating really isn't that extreme anymore because of all of the new class options and things. That they're a little less extreme. They're probably more severe than extreme. And you have to gauge that. Every character, every group is different. But yeah, there has been an uptick in power as all of the new classes have come out. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm really not. But it certainly does warrant a realignment. And finding those creatures or making them so they work together, don't be afraid to give abilities. There is nothing wrong with that. It's kind of, I personally find it frustrating when a player is like, that monster doesn't have that ability. You're like, hey, I did the monster, and yes, it does. I added it. Just like your player can go pick up whatever, it's okay for monsters to get some stuff. Now, obviously, you're not trying to go crazy just to make this invincible thing to kill your players, but giving it a couple of abilities that, it has a 1-action attack that can target 2 people and doesn't apply map till the end, or it has a 2-action attack that can target 4 people and it moves during this, and during this move can attack up to 4 people. Things like that are insanely important for boss monsters because, like I said, if you are not spreading that damage around, it's too easy to mitigate it for the healers. Just go, poof, you're back at full. All right, everyone, back into the fight. And that can be frustrating and anticlimactic and just not a lot of fun. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to handle this, and I think just work with the monsters that you really like. It's okay if you find a monster like, I really love this monster, but it's never going to work. There are methods you can easily do. The GM's Guide, you can level up the monster, and again, look for other abilities monsters have, and like, cool, I like this ability. Give it that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's your game too, and everyone at the table should be having fun. So that's about all I have for you guys today. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out immensely. And I'm going to really try to remember to get this into the middle of the video instead of the end. And I know I said I was going to put a post-it on my monitor, and I didn't do that. And look, here we are at the end, and I'm asking to like and subscribe. The end of the video where so few people even get to. But hey, if you like it, you're going to subscribe anyways without me telling you. So all that said, you all have a great day and game well, my friends.